I am a new dominant and have been with my very experienced submissive for about 6 months. My question is, how do I maintain consistency within the dynamic? I have issues with it by not always following through with what I say I'm going to do, and it's created resentment within my sub, and I want to repair that and work on that. So good. So good. My goodness. This is a great question. And can I just start off by saying, I know this was submitted anonymously, but whoever submitted this, the fact that you're so aware of your own patterns and the fact that the patterns have created, not the best dynamic for you right now, I think is super mature and beautiful and wise, and really seeing a lot of good in that perspective and that mentality. And the fact that you're taking ownership of this, you're like, hey, I know this is partly on me. What do I do to fix it? This is humble. This is open. This is transparent. This is hot, hot, hot. And I love it. I love it. Okay. So thank you for your humility. Thank you for your openness here. And I've got 4 don'ts for you on this question. Okay. So this goes to you other dominants watching who you might be newer than your submissive. That submissive has more experience. Things are getting a little wonky. Maybe power dynamics are getting a little out of control, out of balance. What do we do? I have 5 don'ts for you. All right. The first one, and every don't has a do, so we'll reverse engineer it. But the first one is, don't commit to anything you cannot follow through with. Don't commit to anything as a dominant you cannot follow through with. Because if you do, your yes should mean yes, your no should mean no, right? And if you commit to something that you can't follow through with, it's going to erode trust, which I think you're finding in your dynamic right now. And more than that, what this is going to do in the submissive, in their experience, it's going to cause a submissive to get out of their body and into their head. And now the submissive is going to often take on that responsibility, get hyper vigilant. Like, are they going to show up this time? Are we actually going to play? And it's going to make the submissive very, very logical, even hyper vigilant. And it's going to take them out of their body and really limit their ability to connect in an erotic way. So under promise and over deliver. Absolutely. Absolutely. The second one is, don't say yes when you want to say no, or when you should say no. And this happens a lot with dominants who are struggling with insecurity, with imposter syndrome, and you really want to impress your submissive who has more experience than you. And so you'll just say yes, 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 yes. They bring something to your attention. Can we do this? Can we play like this? Can you take me through a scene like this? Yes, 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 yes. Why? Because we are afraid of disappointing our submissive. We're coming from a place of insecurity, imposter syndrome. We don't want to disappoint our submissive. So we say yes when we don't really want to say yes. Or we say yes when we know we probably shouldn't say yes. We don't have the skill set for that, or we haven't really practiced whatever that is yet, okay? So under promise and over deliver. Don't say yes when you want to say no, because if you do say yes when you want to say no, you're actually not being dominant and you're being codependent. You've stepped out of dominant territory and into crippling empathy. Okay. Number 3, don't fear your submissive's disappointment or emotions. Okay. Do not fear your submissive's disappointment or emotions. Let me tell you, they'll get over it. They can build a cute little bridge and get over it. But if the fear of disappointing that submissive is driving you to say yes when you want to say no, the submissive is actually in charge. The submissive is actually topping from the bottom, and you are being compliant because you are negating your consent. You're saying, I don't want to do this. I'm not actually giving my consent here. I'm being compliant to something. They can build a cute little bridge and get over it. I'm just saying. So don't fear your submissive's disappointment, because that's going to turn the whole power dynamic topsy-turvy. The submissive's disappointment is now driving your choices as a dominant. All right. And 4th one, don't choose things that don't excite you. Okay. Now, this one is very specific for this situation. Okay. I'm getting this very intuitively, almost, that part of the reason you don't follow through whoever asked me this question, is we're struggling with insecurity. We're struggling with imposter syndrome. We might be saying yes when we want to say no, and therefore we're not finding dominant arousal for ourselves. And that's a big key to follow through, is the dominant has to be motivated to follow through. If the dominant never gets a reward, see, we talk a lot about submissive rewards and submissive incentive and submissive arousal. But if the dominant doesn't get a reward for being dominant, and they're just putting in work and planning and being creative and in their head and da-da-da-da-da, they're going to get burnt out. And they're not going to be motivated to follow through. And so that's kind of like intuitively what I'm picking up on here. Maybe you've been saying yes, 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 yes to things, and you haven't actually been advocating for yourself as a dominant. You've allowed the submissive to take up more territory because you know they're more experienced than you. You're afraid of disappointing them. And so you're saying yes to things that don't excite you. Start saying no to some of those things and say yes to some of the things that excite you, and see what happens. See what happens. Does that make sense, everyone? Because here's the thing, owning what you want, look for things that you both enjoy, absolutely. But if they're struggling, but why I said it the way I said it, Slut is if this dominant is already struggling with leaning more toward what the submissive wants after they've looked for things that they both enjoy, the way to break them out of that cycle of codependency is for the dominant to find things the dominant really, really enjoys. And obviously the submissive enjoys and consents too, but we want the submissive to see you owning what you want, because when the submissive sees you going, no, this is what I want, come here and give it to me, that's going to boost their submissive arousal, because they want to see you strong and empowered in your territory. Am I right, submissives? So if you take that space and you go, oh, baby, I know that's what you want, but we're not doing what you want tonight. We're doing this. We're doing what I want. It's going to be novel. It's going to throw them like, okay, I'm not in control here, right? It's going to shift that power gap, increase that power gap, okay? So you just got to take up that space, because owning what you want will absolutely increase subarousal. So how do you deal with, imposter syndrome, insecurity, with an experienced submissive, more experienced than you? Don't commit to anything you can't follow through with. Don't say yes when you want to say no. Don't fear submissive's disappointment or emotions, and don't choose things that don't excite you.